Welcome. Today we're going to be making hillbilly flip cake, and that's what I call it. The real recipe, I think, is apple skillet upside down cake, which to me is just too long of a name, so I call it hillbilly flip cake. This is the recipe I came across about 20 years ago. It's a delicious recipe, apple season. I got my apples, just went down, picked up some more apples at my local orchard today, so I'm like, this makes some hillbilly flip cake with the apples. So we're going to dig right into it. So the first thing we're going to do for our flip cake is to make the apple topping. And first thing you want to do is have 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter melted. So I have that ready to go here. And of course it is a flip cake, hillbilly flip cake, so you're making it in a skillet. And so I got my skillet here ready to go, a 9-inch skillet. So you just want to go ahead, pour in your 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and you can just give it a quick swish. Try to get it covered everywhere. So once you got your skillet covered, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. And all you're going to do for that, you're just going to go ahead and you're just going to sprinkle that around on top of your butter. Now the next thing you want to add is your walnuts, and you want to have about 1/3 cup of chopped walnuts. So I went ahead earlier, I chopped them up. I like walnuts, so it might be a little bit more than 1/3 cup, but that's what the recipe calls for. And all you want to do is just put that on your top. Now the next item is we're going to add our apples. So this morning I went down to my local orchard and I picked up some more apples. And this is a great bacon apple. You can't believe how big these are. These are an heirloom apple from the 1820s, 1830s, I think. And they're called 20-ounce heirloom apples. Gigantic apples. They're really kind of tart, but they're great for pies. They're great for apple butter, applesauce, anything like that. So I went ahead and I took one of these already. So you take 1 large apple and you go ahead and slice it. Now, one of the tricks for this recipe is that you want to take your apples after you have them cut up. You're going to microwave them for 90 seconds. And what that does is help to pull some of the water out of them. Because if you have too much water in them, they kind of don't stay at the top. They'll kind of get mixed in with your batter. So you want to take your apples, slice them up, and then we're going to put them now in the microwave for about 90 seconds. So our apples have been in the microwave for 90 seconds, so let's pull them out. And what you want to do is, if there's any extra moisture that came from doing this, you just want to drain that out. So I'm just going to go ahead and drain that out. Not too much. And the next thing you want to do is you just want to sprinkle your apples on top. And once we added our apples, we just go ahead and we're going to put our cinnamon on top. You just kind of dust it. Now I love the smell of real cinnamon. So once you dusted the apple topping with the cinnamon, then we're going to go ahead and make our batter. So now that our oven is preheating to 375 degrees and we've created the topping for our flip cake, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make the cake batter. And the first thing you want to do is you want to take 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. I use unbleached organic flour. That's just my preference. And then I also add 1/2 cup of stone ground cornmeal. So I'm going to sift those in, 1/2 cup of each. So after you've sifted in your cornmeal and your unbleached all-purpose flour, next thing you want to do is you want to add a quarter teaspoon of salt and a full teaspoon of baking powder. Now I'm just going to take a fork and I'm just going to mix that together. So after you mix that together, I take 1/3 cup of raw sugar, and you just want to go ahead and add that in. And again, we're just going to mix that back together again. Now after you have that done, you want to cut in 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I always freeze mine. I find it easier to cut it in, and I use a rotary cheese grater. So just take my 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm just going to go ahead and add it. And once you've added your butter, you're just going to use a fork and you just want to cut the butter in. So for the wet ingredients, you just want to take 1 egg and just go ahead and beat that. And then after you beat that egg, you want to add 1/2 cup of milk. So let me get the milk out. And you want to add about 1/2 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Mix that together. And now we're just going to add that to our dry ingredients. And we're going to mix that just for about a minute. So after we've mixed that together for about a minute, we're just going to pour it on over top of our topping. And then once we do that, we just want to spread it out a little bit. And that's it. That's how easy it is. So we're going to put this in the oven now for about 25-30 minutes, and we'll just keep an eye on it and see how it's doing. Well, our hillbilly apple flip cake has been baking now for right about almost 30 minutes. I looked at her, she's looking good, so let me go ahead and pull her out and we'll see how she is. Now what you want to look for, she looks pretty good to me. She's been smelling the house up real nice. But you can see how she's slightly brown on the top and the edges are starting to pull away and they're starting to get a little crust on them. So she looks like she's ready to go. Nice and firm. So what you want to do is go ahead and you get a knife and you just want to run around the edge. Make sure she's not going to stick when you pull it out. So now comes the moment of truth. So we're going to flip her over and see how she looks. And there she is. Beautiful. If you can see that, she turned out looking great. So we're going to let the hillbilly flip cake cool for a few moments, and then we're going to have ourselves a bite. Well, we let our hillbilly flip cake cool for a few minutes, so let me go ahead and cut a piece. Now you can see how delicious she looks. That hits the mark. I thought it might be too sweet with that third cup of sugar, but to be honest with you, it's just like perfect, for at least anyway for me, for the sweetness level. But those walnuts and the apple on top, oh, this is really good. I hope you enjoyed this recipe for hillbilly flip cake. This apple skillet turnover, it's just a really good dessert. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you try it, and look forward to seeing you next time.